Did you see the Apple side loading stuff? I did. There was a great video by Theo, who's in this chat sometimes. Basically, here, I'll give you the very, very TLDR. Europe is forcing Apple to finally allow side loading so that you can make your own payment system that doesn't require you to go through Apple, which means Spotify could make it and whatever, so they don't have to give 30% of their money to Apple, which is good. However, Apple is furious about this, and in response, like, analyzed the exact specific language of the ruling, and there's an or in there, and they took that or literally. That or basically means as well. Like, Apple can't do this or this, but Apple is making the argument that means they have to choose one. They chose the less damaging one for themselves, and then they are creating more egregious fines. So you are technically allowed to create a side-loaded version, but there's all of these restrictions on it, and they're putting Unity style pay per download. Long story short, they are trying to make a system so much worse that it threatens Europe to go back to the old system. It's like 50 cents a download. So like, for example, right now, if you have a viral app that makes no money, let's say you have an app that gets 1 million downloads, right now under the current system, you'd pay $0. Under the new system, you'd pay something like 500 grand a month. Something like fucking $8 million a year, and you have to go bankrupt. And so, yeah, they're just like making a system that is very, very obviously designed to threaten people and scare Europe and any tech startups in Europe to go back to the old system. It's pretty shitty by Apple. The hope is that the EU like looks at this, says it's obvious what you're doing is wrong and not in the spirit of the law, and takes them down. But it remains to be seen if that'll happen. Obviously, it is extremely scary for anyone who does tech in Europe because it'll fuck their revenue. Just fuck them completely. Spotify has openly tweeted, they did a long tweet thread from their CEO, like they would be unable to run as a business in Europe under that system. Like it wouldn't even make financial sense. Yeah, but my friends like Apple and Android is cringe or I get bullied at school. You got to get those blue bubbles, baby. It's not even on the consumer at this point. I just fucking hope that EU antitrust, which has so far been pretty good, and tech regulation just says, fuck you, Apple, you can't do this, or you can't operate here, and just stands by it. That'd be so sick. As a 21-year-old, I've never understood caring about a bubble and who sends SMS in 2024. Dude, I got so many people sending me stuff about that after I did the blue bubble, green bubble war. Like I am the one bullying kids. All I did was make a video about how it happens, okay? Especially in America, and that is why Apple has a higher market share. I literally have a fucking Android phone. And they were like, okay, wow, if this guy thinks having a blue bubble is important, like, bro, I don't. I'm telling you what happens. I'm telling you why it works. I'm telling you the marketing of it. Hey, Truck, I had an Android in high school, and I had no friends, but I don't think the two were related. You have to do a double-blind study. You should Billy Madison it, go back to high school and have an iPhone and see if you're super popular. Whether you care about the bubble or not, I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't give a shit about the bubble, but there's people that do. That's why I reported on it. And it's very obviously part of Apple's strategy. Like otherwise they would unlock the bubble color. I got left out of group project chats because I had an Android. It's an amazing way to get out of the work, huh? Imagine you're on a fucking, you got some type A people on your team, you sell your iPhone, you buy an Android, all of a sudden you're coasting. Bubble's okay, but being able to airdrop all my stuff between devices is nice. Yeah, I'm sure, listen, as a consumer, there's plenty of people that like the experience and I don't blame them, okay? They aren't anti-consumer, really. They're mostly anti-developer and competitor in like a big conglomerate tax type way. Well, again, so is Google. They just don't have they're not as good at it in America. It would be really, really nice if there was just regulation on it. That'd be awesome. Then it would work out. Is there a morally good corporation? Matriarch Inc., I think, is one of the greats. I've heard a lot of good stuff about them. Enron's a good one. Amazon, obviously one of the greats for how they treat their warehouse workers. Nestle's one of the good ones. FTX. Some guy that worked for SBF sent me a DM on Twitter, and he was like, here's my story about working for SBF. And it was like a series of tweets about how SBF yelled at him a lot. But there was like nothing substantive in there. It was like text messages between him and SBF. And he's like, yeah, he yelled at me a lot and the job wasn't good. But that's not cool, but that's not the crime he committed. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. If that was the case, he would be an average CEO. The problem was the fraud. I can't watch Marketing Monday anymore because it makes me more depressed about how I will never own a house. I hear what you're saying and I appreciate it, but do you want me to lie to you? You want me to make a Marketing Monday about how houses tomorrow are going to be fucking free? This week on Marketing Monday, new laws are being passed that will make all houses free, specifically for Zoomers. It is funny. The more, again, I'm reading a lot about this stuff for the predictions video. The more I read about the general mood, especially among younger people, millennials and Gen Z, it's like there's the fact that we can't get a house and everything else. Like that is the issue. I legitimately feel if somehow housing were just snap overnight fixed and everybody had a good house, or like it was affordable and on a normal salary, like everyone's complaints would dry up. Almost everything is downstream from that. That is the defining issue among young people globally. It just feels so important. I think like so much of the doomerism, so much of like the lack of the future stems from the fact that people are looking at a world where they could work a lot of hours and not be able to make that milestone. It's usually the milestone of like work, maybe promotion or get started on a career, have enough money, buy a house, have a family. Like it's like that. But if you chop that off, people start feeling like fucking dizzy. They feel like, well, what are the structure? What am I doing? I know people who bought their house for 20K. It's worth $1 million now. Are you at a fucking old folks home? Who you know bought a house for 20K? It's worth $1 million now. Where 20K? That's like 1920s. What? Are you 70? Maybe 200K, maybe. But again, there's been massive price appreciation over the past 30 years, but 20K is ridiculous. You get a house for 20K in the 50s? Maybe. I'm no expert on the 50s housing prices. I rented back then. Did you see Nancy Pelosi stocks news? I did. I saw Nancy Pelosi. Someone asked her in an interview if like she thought it was okay for Congress to trade stocks. And she goes, yeah, it's a free market. And it's like, Nancy Pelosi has a 200K salary and made $200 million off stocks. It's fucking ridiculous. It's so criminal. It's so criminal, dude. And she's not the only person doing it. I mean, she's like at the top tier of the Congress people doing it, but it's like, it's fucked up. It's just fucked up. It's like, I think there was something, I don't know if it passed the House or whatever to like stop congressional stock trading. I don't know if it actually passed, but I hope it does because it has such a bad incentive. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially because it's unpunished. It's almost like, I don't know, it just incentivizes amoral people into those positions so they can get filthy rich. Why would Congress ever remove their own ability to trade stocks? Public pressure is the ideal. The idea is that public pressure would cause that. But it's hard to get people motivated and on one issue. You can see the Congress trades on Quiverquant. Their house copy trading strategy return has been 40%. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if they're making well above the S&P 500, then there's obviously an advantage. They have some kind of hidden knowledge that they're not just the fucking world's best stock traders. They're cheating. They're thumb on the scales, bro. They're just lucky. It's coincidence. You can copy what they do and make bank, but they always have the first mover advantage on it, right? And so when they have to report it, there's a delay between when they do it and report it. So very often, unless it's a long-term play, you could miss out on the appreciation.